All right, the cool thing about this lesson is very easy because most of you have seen angles before somewhere in your math pilgrimage prior to me. I did elementary school or junior high. I just have to review some angle basics before we get into trigonometry. We're going to go right into trigonometry this week. The whole week will end in trigonometry. So last week was area, perimeter, surface area, volume, 3D shapes. This week is trigonometry. And then the last 2 weeks will be quadratic equations. Okay, so we're finishing up geometry, and then we're going to get into some crazy algebra for the last 2 weeks of summer school. What the heck is an angle? Let's define an angle. Go ahead and write down this definition. The space between two lines or two rays. I'll write that down. The space between two lines or two rays. What do I mean by the space between two lines or two rays? So what I want you to do is go ahead and draw an angle. Go ahead and draw two lines the way I did here. Okay. I actually drew two rays. A ray is kind of like a line. Miramontes, let me on the floor, thanks. A ray starts at a beginning point and goes on forever. That's why you see the arrows here. So go ahead and draw two rays. Go ahead and do that for me. Let's draw two rays, which is an angle. Now this space in between the two rays right here where my hand's at, that's the angle. It's the space inside. We call that the interior of the angle. So go and write the word interior inside the angle. Everything outside of it is exterior. So all this space outside where my hand's at is the exterior. The sides are actually the two rays here. So this is a side and that's a side. The vertex is a corner, and we already know that vertices are corners, right? So that's the vertex of the angle. So you have the exterior of the angle, interior of the angle. We have the sides. We have the vertex. These are the basic parts of an angle. Let's go ahead and add some points to the angle. This way we can name it. So off to the side, you're going to write how to name an angle. I'm going to show you 3 different ways to name an angle. Let's put a point here. Let's call this point P. Let's call the vertex point Q. Do that with me. And let's put a point on this side. Let's call it R. So if I want to name an angle, let's say I want to talk about this angle. The way to name it is, there's 3 different ways. One way is I can just name it by its vertex, which is point Q. So I want to talk about that angle, and if mathematicians want to talk about an angle, they'll name it with this notation. Notice the symbolism I'm going to use. I can call it angle Q. Look at that. Look at the angle symbol. I'm going to write that down. I can name this angle Q. Or, watch this. If I were to extend this ray going right here, and extend this ray going this way, now if I said to you, hey class, can you see angle Q? How many angles do you see now? There's 4, huh? Look at it. Check it out. There's this angle, there's this angle, there's this angle, and there's this angle. If I said, hey class, look at angle Q, you should be asking, well, what's angle Q, Mr. Munguia? Angle Q can be this angle, this angle, this angle, or this angle. So, in order to be specific, In a case like this, we use a three-letter method to name the angle. So if I want to name this angle right here, this one, the way I did, angle Q, at this point, I would have to name it by the three-letter method, which is this way. Watch, I'm going to use the same symbol, angle. I'm going to use one letter from one side, the vertex, and then another letter from the other side, making sure that the vertex is the middle letter. So if I want to name this angle, another way to name it would be angle PQR. Look at it. Notice how the vertex is the middle letter. Or I can name it RQP. So these are three legitimate names for that same angle that we just originally drew. We can name it by the vertex or using the three-letter method. Cortez, question? Always. If you're going to use a three-letter method, the vertex has to go in the middle, or else you misnamed it. You didn't name it correctly. So there's three ways to name an angle. One letter by the vertex or three-letter method. Okay, moving right along. This should be reviewed for you somewhat. If not, no big deal. I'll get you caught up. So watch this. You don't have to draw anything right now. You're just going to watch the master. Look at this angle. The way to measure an angle is by degrees. If I want to measure the distance between me and Medina, right here, I can measure it in inches, feet, yards. Between me and Miramontes, I can measure the distance between you and I in feet, yards, or inches, or whatever. But to measure an angle, we use a unit called degrees. And this protractor, which you'll work on tomorrow, this protractor measures an angle. So look at the space between these two rays, this space where my hand's at. I'm going to measure with a protractor. Look at it. I'm going to start right there. Angles are about rotation. How much rotation does this angle possess? Watch this. Look at it. Right now we're at 0 degrees. Look at the little bubble. Indicates degrees. If I move this ray to where it's going to end, where the angle ends, notice the angle is getting bigger and bigger. We know this is a right angle, right? We've been dealing with right triangles. That's 90 degrees. 100, okay, we're still going. So this would be approximately 138 degrees, or 139, okay, approximately. So angles are about rotation, okay? The way we measure angles is by degrees. Now, there's 4 different basic kinds of angles that I want you to write down now, and then we're going to end class with this. I got a tree map here. Let me split the screen here. Go ahead and copy this tree map down, and you can pack up and get your stamp sheet ready for me to stamp. We're done for the day. Just copy this. Take up a good portion of your note page, yeah. Take up a good portion. Go to write down the 4 branches, the 4 types of angles, and we'll continue this tomorrow morning. We're going to draw some pictures underneath tomorrow morning. But go ahead and copy this down, and then pack up.